Okay, folks, we're back. We're back to see what. Well, we need to touch up on this. Panzer 3, if anything. Are we ready to move on to the next one? I think we're ready to move on to the next one. Let me. Of course, this is going to still get sealed. Whenever that happens, that's the kind of the final frontier. And a lot of people might do this sort of thing with airbrushing. I just don't have that kind of control. I only got 3 years of experience or so with airbrushing. Not that many hours in 3 years, but still. 3 years, maybe just 2. We're getting better every time. Just all these subtle differences of weathering involve lots of different layers. And TLC, and not being like, I got to get this done in 5 minutes kind of thing. This will be done when it's done, and that's when it's done. Okay. Now, I don't feel like painting a Panzer Commander figure right now. I'm going to leave that for the weekend. We've got several to do. I'll work on the other Panzer too. Okay, so the first place we're going to start off with is, let's go ahead and remove this turret. Actually, I'm going to do a before and after, because this one ended up being the same color as this one. I was going to do a video on how to do this, but it didn't work out for me. Let's kill this. All right, let's go ahead and remove this. And we're going to do the very first step. Good morning, Marcus. Well, we're done with 2 of them. Let's see if I can do this properly. Probably can't. Let's put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. No. You're getting too much ricochet. Too much ricochet. There we go. Too much light ricochet. That's what I should call it. You come up with my own terminology. Light ricochet. What the hell does that mean? Well, maybe you should watch his channel. And it still doesn't look right. This looks just a tad bit more pale than it is. We'll take pictures outside this weekend. You know, we've got this Panzer IIc, we've got a G that's already, has the base color on it. And then we got 2 more G's and 2 more H's. And I gotta finish that Panzer IV up, which I believe does not have the black lining on it. And it'll still look good. I mean, it's not Ron's work, but it's still pretty good. And then we got to add stuff to them to make them a little bit different. Good stuff, man. Good stuff ahead. 2025 is going to be a good year. Yeah, I like the numbers too. You know, and honestly, I probably, if I wanted white outlines around them, and I don't, if I wanted white outlines around them, I probably could have done that too. Um, I just have to have a brush that I have confidence in. I went to Hobby Lobby and bought more brushes the other day, and I'm glad I did. So, yeah, Panzer II's the only tank I can handle without having the turret basket in the back. The turret box. Heard somebody call it one time the Rommel box. Okay, here goes. Step one. Dark sand, step one. Well, this isn't step one. Step one after the wash. So if this had been any other vehicle other than this one, after the wash, I would have gone back with the main color and dry brushed that back over. But because this is Africa, we don't do that. Um, we start adding a weathering color. Because honestly, this looks like ass. I would not be happy with that. As I'm just kind of trying to run the gauntlet. You know, was this a gray vehicle that was driven into the sand and got sandy, or was it was it lightly oversprayed and that some of that wore off? Um, you know, you pick. You know, I'm covering everything, and I like how it looks, and it's darker than the British. So, as long as it's not uniform in color, and I don't mean like it's camouflaged. Yeah, the numbers are good because I can make them whatever size I need to make them. Like this one's a decal. This 4 is a decal. I'm probably going to remove it. I'm probably going to remove the 4 and hand paint it myself. All right. Dark sand. And it's all about having different layers of color. You know, I've got black, which you really can't see the black, but I've got dark gray. I got an overspray on the dark gray. I got the green ochre oversprayed. I got a wash. I've got this dark sand, and I got the light sand, and then I got the drippings, and I've got the black lighting. You know, not that many. I've seen other people stuff that I really like, and they have a lot more steps. I'm not looking for more steps. I got enough on my plate. We do need to finish some of these models one day. So other things that I could see for these guys, I could see them having. I don't have any Fs. I didn't have any Fs, but it looked like this Panzer division didn't have any Fs in its inventory according to the micromark list. So that's why I didn't buy any. Not that I didn't want any. I could see having a couple of Panzer 4Ds and another E. And a couple more Panzer 2s. And that's pretty much it. I don't ever see needing any more tanks than that. I don't need any tanks, but, you know. Had another slow night last night. I was on for about an hour. Jeffrey came on for a little bit, but eventually I ran out of steam. That's okay. Like I said, I got to try to paint every night because, You know, I might decide not to paint on a night, and it's the night that Ron was going to come on. So I actually love doing this part because first of all, it's extremely forgiving. This is my idea of impressionistic art. It's just about as impressionistic as I would get. I'm painting Africa Korps palms. Well, that's the secret with them is you got to paint the swastika where you want it. You got to put the swastika where you want it, and then put the palm up and down on it. Painting the palm first, or using a decal that has a palm, and then putting the swastika. That's not working for me. So. So Ron was working. I don't know if you saw on his site. He's working on some Panzer IV, some Panthers, some Panther D's with Zimmerin on them. That's what you need if you're doing late 43, early 44. So I picked up those two Su-85s, and I don't know how long it's going to take for him to produce those Panthers. It's not like I'm in a hurry to paint Panthers, but I could see doing some winter 43, 44 stuff, Cherkasy pocket, that type of stuff. Winterize some Panthers. Winterize some Su-85s. Your daughter got home late again. She has a competition coming up Saturday, so extra practice. Coach, can we just throw the game? My daughter went to a lot of practices. Oh, you're probably not back. I'll be quiet. I mean, even if I stopped here, it would look pretty good. I'd be happy with it. But if you can do better, then do better. So you're having multiple cups of coffee in the morning. This is actually left over from yesterday. Got the smoke candles down here. I honestly don't know if they could fire them off individually. They had to set them all off. But I personally love the look of German tanks that have the smoke grenade launchers up by the top of the turret. I think they look grand. There's not very many of them that did that. They only used that for a small period of time. Really late 42, up until about Kursk. And then for whatever reason, that wasn't an optimal way for them to do that. But I really like the look of it. Especially if the tank doesn't have shirts in. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's attractive. fingers out of the way. Okay, you're back. I was gonna say, my daughter went to a lot of practices when she was doing the synchronized swimming, and she even got to go to the Junior Olympics. I didn't get to go with her, but she did that for many years. What time is her event on Saturday? I'll make sure not to film during that time. I gotta go see my mom this weekend, so. You're back. Use a You use a Bialetti to make one batch each morning, but then I make 2 Americano cups out of the result. That's great for your daughter. Mine is entering the Junior Elite track now. Yeah, some of the parents are cool. Some of the parents are. A few of the parents were cool. A few of the parents were like pain in the ass. Saturday afternoon, so I'll be on in the morning. My wife is traveling with her this time. Oh, it's not local? Okay. Well, I'm sure there'll be several shows. And you know what happens is I get on, and if there's people on, you guys keep me on focus. If I'm on and nobody's on with me, it's not so much I get discouraged, but I'm always looking at the screen. I don't get a notification when somebody comes on. So I'm always looking at the screen. Okay, am I talking to myself still? And if I am, then it distracts me. Like the other night, I didn't have very many people on, and I just turned I just turned it off, and just ended up doing all the numbering of the Panzer III on there, because it was just very distracting, going back and forth and back and forth. So, okay, so now we've got one coat of this, and like I said, I actually would be pretty happy with the results of this if that's how it stayed. And it kind of looks, and this is what I was saying is, was it gray and that was it dusty, or was it gray and they did a quick overspray on it, or was it gray that they paint the whole thing over and then ran it through the desert and it faded and it chipped away and now you can see some of the gray underneath it? I don't know. Choose your adventure, but that's kind of how I like for it to be. And before I do the final color, which is the pale sand, we're going to do all the black things, the road wheels, the gun barrels, all that kind of stuff, and then the tracks. So, where is a brush I have confidence in, but is not too expensive? There we go. And by expensive, I mean one that is for extremely specific things. Very specific set of skills. Whether you winter stew, much the same way, making it look like full whitewash that is faded. Yeah, I can't wait to do but I'm not going down that road. I resisted buying the Panzer IV-Gs from Armor Fast. They had two of them for £9.45 in Gibraltar. I didn't buy them. I wanted to get them from Chad whenever the time was. And the Panzer IIIs, I'll get Ron's Panzer IIIs. But those will all be gray. I've got that King Tiger that I haven't painted yet. That I'm gonna make it yellow with snow. It's it's Dunkelgelb. And it has snow, and I'm a little leery of it, but leery for me is I just haven't done it before. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be happy with how it turns out. I need to remember that, sometimes you talk yourself, and I don't know how this is going to turn out. That's right, you don't know how it's going to turn. You don't know how you're going to get the results that you're going to be happy with, but you are going to be happy with the results. I'm too old for that shit. I've done this too many times and not be happy with the results. If you're not happy with the results, just fix it. Like these numbers. I haven't had to clean up the numbers at all. I mean, that's insane. That's unbelievable. But if I do, it just means it just takes a little longer. I had to clean up the crosses. That would be almost impossible, and I have to clean up the crosses. But not much. They're not perfect, but they look okay at a distance. Alright, let's paint these little details. And the other thing is by handling this, I'm kind of getting free chipping, right? I'm scrubbing, I'm touching some of the paint, some of it comes off. I mean, it's not much, but it's something. The Talieri is good that I could change a gun barrel to be either a Stug or a Stug. May add some of Chad's stowage as it is basic. Not sure yet. I have a hard time deciding that. I get a little bit of analysis paralysis, but I'm going to try to make an effort when I do these Panzers to make them all. They all do look different because the other one has the other H, for instance. The other two, I believe. One of them has the barrel that has the cover on it, where the hatch is closed, and the other one has this barrel with the hatches closed as well. And one of them has this hull, and the other one has the non-enhanced hull. So we're going to mix and match them. So the one that has the cover is going to have this hull, and the other one that has the turret that's like this one also will have the other hull. That way all three of them will be different. Plus you could make the stowage different too. So at a glance they'll look like completely different vehicles. That's my reasoning anyways. You could have method, you could have madness, but there's got to be method. But I've never done snow. I shouldn't say that. I had a micro armor tank. It was a Panzer III-J that I painted a long time ago. Maybe even in the 80s. Circa 1990. And I was really proud of it. I painted it in gray. I whitewashed it, and in a form that I was afraid to do another one. And I painted a little air recognition swastika flag on the roof. And and it looked really good at the time. And I should have kept it. Just for, hey, this is what my stuff looked like back then. But I didn't. I got rid of all my micro armor stuff. And it probably looked like trash nowadays, but I don't want to do a snow thing until until I got enough desert stuff done. So I will work on it in 2025. It may end up being late. The problem with doing snow, or the biggest problem with doing snow, is I got to make a terrain map that looks right for it. Well, I picked up on a whim, you weren't on here last night, so you didn't know, the Face of Battle version 2 rules. And after looking at them at a glance, I'm not too impressed. They look to be dumbed down a little bit from the standpoint of going to a D10, but like I was telling Jeffrey yesterday, if I don't see something I like, I'd use the version 1 rules for them. Like, there's some things that I wouldn't mind streamlining, like spotting. I think spotting is important, but I don't want it to be the focus of the game. Just like I had a friend of mine who used to like playing Harpoon, the modern miniatures game. And that game focuses a whole lot on contacting the enemy. And although that's all well and good, that's not very exciting. So I'm not saying that part of the game needs to be eliminated, but that part of the game shouldn't be what slows the game down. They also made like every rifle the same, so every bolt action rifle is the same, and they aren't in the version 1, but the ranges are the same, so the ranges are equivalent. So I can just change it to, I can just use the data from the first game, and things like that. So the counters are the same. So all those counters I had pre-printed, they're all the same thing. The mishap counter literally looks exactly the same, and maybe the morale is a little cleaner. So I may just play it as is, and then go, this is a little missing. Let me go and add some flavor of the old game. Now, if you buy the second version and don't have the first version, you're going to wonder, why the hell are there this few vehicles in it? Because there's not a whole lot of weapons detail. For instance, for the Germans, and I'm just going off of the fly here, there'll be like one version of a Panzer II, one version of a Panzer III, maybe two versions of a Panzer IV, one Panther, which is a D, and like a Tiger or something like that, and a couple of odd vehicles. That's it. So it doesn't have every vehicle like the other rules have. You could extrapolate the data and figure it out by yourself. But the first thing I went to is like, well, let me see if they corrected the Panzerjäger 1. Because the Panzerjäger 1 says that it has a driver and a commander. That has a two-man turret and a two-man tank. It's not. It's a three-man tank. It's a three-man vehicle. And they didn't have the Panzerjäger in the game. So I don't know if they're going to plan on releasing that with vehicles later or, but that doesn't bother me because I have all the data, And like, for instance, I don't have data on Italian tanks, but I will. I'll make it. We have all the references. You can not buy any books and have all the references for armor penetrations and stuff, comparing apples to apples. You could be like, okay, well, this has this much millimeters of armor. What other tank is like that? Okay, this has like this one. Okay, well, that's a factor of whatever. You could do the math yourself. It's not difficult. That shit's actually fun. So, I had a pack of Tigers and micro armor. Found out Found one when I was last in Virginia. I might paint it up for nostalgia at some point. Thought the Face of Battle version you played seemed good. I was thinking of buying an electronic version this year. The only issue I'm going to run into is the name for my troops. Don't want to redo the basis for names. Well, you could put, you can put a number underneath, and that would do it. The problem is, it's like, okay, who's number 8 again? You have to flip it over. Actually, what I would probably do is, you could just write names or some identifying thing. See, the names work because the name you eventually get to go, oh, that's so and so. That's so and so. You can put a name on a figure, like on a face, and then it's just a matter of when that person's action comes up. If you have to flip a guy every time, you're like, say this guy's here, you're like, is this Frank? It's not. Every time you pick them up, they're moving a little bit, which probably not a big deal. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to do all that extra handling of the figure. We want to minimize the handling because that'll protect them more. That's the only reason I have it on the top. And I like how it looks. When I first started, I had a little kick plate up on it, like I do now, because it's kind of like a kick plate for the name. But it was a kick plate, and I'd paint a number, sequential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And eventually, like, okay, 8 is, so my first German squad was 1 through 10. My squad leader was 1, the assistant squad leader was 2. The machine gunner, for whatever reason, was 8. He should have been 3, but he wasn't. And so forth. But I found it was like better to put a name, and then what I would do is you'd go off to the side. You would write, okay, 8 is so and so, and then 4 is so and so, and then you're like, well, why don't I just put that so and so's name on the figure? That's kind of how it developed. And I don't want everybody to have a deck of cards because everybody flips at once, because then you don't have a GM. Both people are doing their own thing, not paying attention to what the enemy is doing, or maybe they're paying attention too much, and they're like, well, let me see how far he moves, decide how far I move, kind of thing. I don't want to dart out there if he's not going to dart out there, kind of thing. And then, and you have to even out both decks. So you're going to have blank cards in there. And then what do you do every turn? You have to readjust the decks. That's just too much work within work. And then you got to worry about the deck being shuffled correctly, and not destroying the cards in the process of shuffling. And I just can't shuffle cards. I can paint numbers really small. I can't shuffle a deck of cards. And I'm okay with that. I'm at peace. So that's why I did the whole, pull a chip thing. Because guys, shuffle that. I can shuffle that bag like nobody's business. Definitely like the look of what you do. It'd be a fresh start for me. In any case, best set of rules I've seen on the tactical level. Yeah. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there where we need it to be. The fact that I'm playing something in the last 20 years that is not a tournament, and the problem with the tournament is not that it is competitive. The problem is that you don't want to make. You don't want to be an activist judge, basically, is what it is. You don't want to turn into an activist judge. Like, here's the rules. We're going to judge it based on what the rules are, not what they should be or not what they could be. And then you feel like, like you're eating a TV dinner that was mass produced and you're not allowed to put salt on it. So I'm like, those days are over. And it wasn't about, Tony's way or the highway. Like, there's lots of stuff that we wanted to play in DBA that we all agreed on. And we couldn't do it because that's not what the rules said. Or you could do it, but then when you play in a tournament, you have to undo all the damage, all the quote-unquote damage that you've done, and go back to eating something that is substandard. So, we just decided never to cross that line. So that's how we're gonna go about it. So and it actually, I think it moves okay. I don't think it moves too slow. I think it moves okay. And I'm willing to add things into it that I used to have in my game that it's not in the game now. Like, say the hit chance is really easy to do now. Oh, it's too generic. Okay. Well, you have the hit chance, and then once you actually hit the guy, you could roll a die to see where you hit him on. And then you could do the stuff that I was talking about. Because that kind of detail, spending a lot of effort doing misses is what is a waste of time. If a person actually gets hit, or if you actually have a shell penetrating the tank, or stuff that actually happens, I'm okay with it going a little slower because you're seeing the slow motion effect of like that T-34 movie, or like that video game that I've never played called Sniper Elite, where you're shooting at guys, and I don't know if this is in the game, but I've seen the video. And once you get a hit, you can see that it goes through it misses the liver, and it goes through it, that kind of stuff. I don't want to keep track if they have liver damage or anything, but I don't want to be like, okay, he's dead or he's just heavily wounded. That's it. Or what I really hate, he's out of action, but you can't remove him from the field. Like, you can't take the figure out. So, but what eats up the clock a lot is like looking up. Okay, well, what do they mean by this? So if the game is streamlined to avoid those kind of things, because to be honest with you, if I had a GM screen, I could run a game with people and like they wouldn't even know if I was running the game correctly. Like, I know enough about this shit that I could pull it off. Or I'm confident I'd be able to pull it off. But I want to be fair to myself too. I'm not one of these people like, I want to make things up to make myself feel better. I'm like that's not me. I mean, I want to play by the rules too. My friend gaming group in VA adjusts rules almost every game if we stumble on something that doesn't seem to be giving a realistic result. We enjoy the history and the narrative of the battle. Yeah, the narrative is what you're going to remember. And you want it to keep making you want to come back for more. You have a guy in your Virginia group that's a pain in the ass? You don't have to tell me who it is. Yeah, it's that Frank guy. There's always one. Sometimes there's two. And if your group doesn't need one, it might be you. If you think your group doesn't have one. Some people just like to argue. I'm not one of them. Especially if it looks like it's not doing any good. Like, you know, if I was say my piece and it's not getting anywhere, then I'm done with you. You're dead to me, you know? Got some people that are pretty opinionated. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I consider myself to be pretty opinionated. You know, I don't want to play Flames of War. I don't want to play Rapid Fire. It's a waste of my time. If you want to play it, that's fine. Go ahead and play it. I'm not interested in playing either one of those two games. Both of those games are are a worse representation than Command Decision. And I found Command Decision to be lackluster in the infantry end. So why would I play those? They don't motivate me to want to paint more stuff. Okay, the ubiquitous Jack is done. No, all of them are cool. It's you, isn't it? It's my best friend from high school and his two boys, late 20s. One of the boys is a high school history teacher, and the other works at an arsenal. He knows a lot about explosives. An arsenal, huh? Boomba. I find that a lot of people, the problem that a lot of people have is they're not open-minded about shit. You know, they're like, oh, I read everything there is about this, and this is how this is. You know, like the people that get into discussions, what's the best tank of World War II? Like, don't even bother having that conversation, because there's too many different factors. You know, people be all like, oh, absolutely the Panther. There's nothing better than the Panther. Or, you know, or whatever it is that they happen to say. The Panther used to be the go-to. And I like a Panther, but, you know, it's got its drawbacks. So some people just... it reminded me when we were watching the History Channel. Way back when we had the History Channel. And Ermy would get on there with whatever the hell his show was, where he'd use real weapons and stuff like that. And that guy's just a, you know, he's so full of propaganda. I mean, that's his shtick. That he would always gravitate towards whatever it was, because it was American, it was best. I'm like, hold on, let's stop. Let's stop and be fair. You need to be fair about stuff. You don't have to be. I choose to be fair about things. You know, I don't like communists, but there's some things that the Russians did that were pretty good. There's a lot that they didn't. I mean pretty good, like, you know, weapons or what have you. You know. So you just got to be fair and look at it from things from all ends. I think that's important. A lot of people don't do that. You know, a lot of people assume that Americans, oh, if it ain't American, it's a piece of shit. Well, some people are that way, but not all of us are that way. You know? Okay, now, unfortunately, now we get to the part where I need to wait for it to dry. Oh, that's not true. I could paint lay track. Then we have to wait for it to dry. And there's people like, oh, the German stuff is the best. Well, not always. This is when I get asked, what's your favorite tank? I can't even answer that. I can't even answer that by nationality. What's your favorite German tank? Can't answer it. What's your favorite tank? Can't answer it. Can't answer. There's too many that I like. That's a good thing. There's too many that I like. And there's only very few I really hate. That looking at you, duck. I'll probably paint one time. Called the Ugly Duckling. Ron's favorite part of the tank. Well, you know what? He does a good job with it. I don't think you'd be able to handle the Armor Fast tracks that are just like whatever. Or the Skytrex tracks that are like, everybody's tracks are the same. But I still think I did the right thing getting like 30-something T-34s. That got the T-34s off the ground, didn't it? Got plenty of them. I still got plenty to do. I think the rest of them are going to be snow. I think the only one I can answer those is, what's your favorite Japanese tank? Hago. Because it's cute. It's cute as hell. It's a piece of shit. So is every Japanese tank. That might be the only one I can answer. I mean, shit, I could just not leave the desert and have plenty to do. Because I haven't even done Tunisia. Reading about it now, but... And the slack on this track is great. It sits down everywhere it's supposed to. I think that little Italian tank they used in Russia is cute. Forget the name in the moment. You mean the L6? The L6 is very cute. It's also top heavy. One armed with a 20mm cannon. They use it in Afrika too, but wasn't until 42. L640. It is a very cute tank. Cute tanks don't win wars, but it makes you want to buy the model of them and paint them. And Stewarts are cute. I think every version of a Stewart is cute. I know, I got some honeys to do. I'll get there. Damn, can I finish this track before it's time to stop? I hope so. Oh, looks like I missed some spider webs. It's funny that doing this intricate work, I never feel like exhausted. But if I'm like pulling off the spider webs after a while, or like working with X-Acto knife, picking at little things, almost like somebody that was like cleaning teeth, I get like, okay, I need to stop kind of thing. Yeah, so, all right, gotta run, enjoy the day. Might not see you tonight. See you until tomorrow a.m. It's Tiana's birthday. All right, well, happy birthday to her. Yeah, I lost track of time. That's what I hate about this hobby. Like, the time goes, if you're on a roll, the time goes by too quick. Like, man, it's time to go to sleep. Man, it's time to go to work. I don't mind how long this takes. I just mind that, you know, I don't have any day left. It's my meditation. Okay, so it looks like we did the front, but not the back. All right, let's see if we can put some hustle in a step, be able to get done in the next 10 minutes or so. All right. Well, I'm actually going to stop now. I don't want to be rushed.